When you understand the gratitude and generosity of God, you understand the grace of God, you understand everything comes from God.
Yep.
I'm going to tell you, this is you want to know, pave the way to the good life. Learn to be generous. Welcome to the Good Life Podcast, where we talk about the search for significance, the pursuit of purpose, and really the challenges of our culture. My name is Carl Nichols, and I'm here again with our co-host, Daniel Foster. Thank you for joining us on this journey toward the good life. As you know, we come to you weekly and or bi-weekly, kind of depending on the season, and we try to bring content that is valuable to your life and adds value to your life. And one of the greatest things you can do is, if this has been valuable to you or helped you in some way, you can like and share, leave us a review, let us know, because if it's helping you, it's likely helping other people. So like, share, tag a friend, let them know, and leave us a review so we can make a difference in other people's lives as well. Today, we are kicking off a new year.
Yep.
And there's a lot of things that people make New Year's resolutions or set goals for the new year. I thought it'd be fun to find out. I don't know. We haven't even talked about this off the cuff here. What's the New Year's resolution you've made more than one time and have failed miserably at?
Dang, this is on the spot. I would say probably, this is embarrassing, but we're going to be transparent here. Getting fit, physical health, going to the gym, drinking water. I get about day 3 and I'm like, all right, I'm done.
Yeah,
I'll buy, maybe you can relate to this. I'll buy like a brand new water bottle and be like, all right, this is it. This is the cool bottle. It looks cool, feels good.
Yeah.
And that first day I would fill it up 3 times, drink it. And I'm like, yeah, this is great. And then day 3, I'm like, it's still in my car overnight and I've just been there for 5 days.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm sure that there's a lot of people, a lot of listeners who feel the same way. I think we've all started fad diets. This year it's keto. Next year it's, no red meat. Next year it's no sodas, then no caffeine. I mean,
75 hard. I've done that in like 5 days.
Hard. And so I think, one of the things,
easy.
Hopefully in this conversation about the good life, people, you've asked me before to reiterate, by the way, I have my Good Life hoodie on today. What is the good life?
Nice color choice. Hunter green, huh?
Yeah, Hunter. I don't know why, man. It's just the one they designed. So I think that just a reminder to listeners of what the good life is. It's really, God gave Adam and Eve everything they needed. Mm-hmm. Yet they pursued the one thing they couldn't have, and it led them down a spiral of sin and this search for satisfaction that led to this, what we call the web of discontent. And how do we get back? The closest thing we can do to get back to the good life, where we're in total dependence upon God and what He's provided for us. And obviously we know there's some theology behind that with Christ's life, death, burial, and resurrection. But even on a day-to-day life, I think one of the things we do a terrible job of in our culture is we lock into fads. And New Year's resolutions are just that. And so I'm not anti-resolution. I'm just like anti the same resolution you've had for 4 years and you never have fulfilled it. It's not working. And I would say probably the vast majority of people don't do well with New Year's resolutions, because if they were going to do well with New Year's resolutions, they do well the rest of the year.
That's true.
So look, if it works for you, great. Maybe you can tell us how.
It doesn't work for me.
But I've made the same thing this year. I'm going to be down under, a certain weight.
What is one you've done over and over?
I think health is probably the same one. It's not as, I've done a pretty good job. I obviously, on a physical side of things, have some limitations. I love sports, but I find myself getting injured very often. I have a pretty jacked up back. I've blown both of my Achilles, had 2 shoulder surgeries.
I'm sorry.
I don't have a limb on my body that I have not had at least one significant surgery on.
That's an accomplishment.
And I have a herniated disc, and I have arthritis in my back. And so I'm a walking accident, but I love to play sports. And so one of my biggest things is just stay active. Fighting, and trying to maintain weight is a thing that I think is something we all strive to do, or at least in our minds want to do. And so there have been seasons where I've done better, and then seasons where, my back hurts, and so what I've learned though in that is that rather than setting these unrealistic expectations of this is what I'm gonna do this year, like within the confines of how God designed me, but also the season of life that I'm in and the physical limitations, what can I do to remain active and healthy and look more like at the health conversation than the fad diet or the weight loss or the muscle build or whatever. And so really it's just rethinking lifestyle versus resolution. So I thought today, as we go into the new year though, maybe you've done some of the same things. You've made New Year's resolutions to have better relationships with your family, do intentional things with your kids, weight loss, not spend so much money. What are some lifestyle changes that could really impact you long term, that aren't just going to die out in 21 days or at the end of January. Well, I made it through, 75 days of 75 hard, 2 workouts, 1 indoor, 1 out. And then 2 months later, you you ate a bunch of marshmallows. And so I'm just being honest.
Waste.
Yeah. It's what can you do to think about lifestyle? And so 3 things that I wrote down. We try to keep everything to 3 things here. In our last episode though, I got to bring this up.
I was about to ask.
We were trying to give 3, bad theological Christmas songs, and then we were just talking about bad other Christmas songs that had nothing to do with theology, and I couldn't think of the one that was about the woman being a gold digger, and basically it's Santa Baby, and she's begging Santa to come down the chimney, and it gets pretty risque. And so I've
never listened or read through the lyrics, listened to the song. I guess I know the song, but when we look through those lyrics, oh wow.
After we got off the last podcast, I was like, I gotta find it. I can't remember the name of the song, and it's such an easy one. And I read it, and we were like,
That's got some underlining tones.
Yeah, some underlining tones. And if you thought I Saw Mommy Kissing Santa Claus is bad, Santa Baby's a whole nother level.
Santa Baby said, hold on.
Don't be listening to that one too much, especially with youngsters around. And so here's what I thought. Let me give you 3 thoughts in my life that have impacted me. Some not so recent, and some I think even fairly recent in my life. The first one is this: 3 things to make the most of at this year that you listen to. It's 2023 that we're talking about. The first one I would say is this: learn to say no more often. Now, here's the thing. People can. I say this all the time to you guys as a staff, and people make fun of me, even in leadership rooms all across the country, where I'll go sit down and they go, to say how Carl would say it, don't hear what I'm not saying. What I'm not saying is just say no for the fun of saying no. What I'm saying is say no to the things you should say no to, so that you can say yes to the things you need to say yes to. Because every yes that you say to something you should say no to, you're saying no to something you likely should say yes to. I'll say that again because you're looking at me.
Please do that. I know what you're saying, but it can be easily confusing.
If you ask me to lunch tomorrow and I say yes, but I really should have said no because I have something at lunch tomorrow, by me saying yes to going to lunch to you, I said no to the thing I really needed to do.
Yeah.
So when I say yes to something I should have said no to, timing, season of life, busy schedule, don't really know how it's going to affect. When I say yes to that, when that time or that energy is needed to say yes to something I really should say yes to, I've already given that time or energy away to something else.
Absolutely.
And so here's the way it plays itself out for me. I travel and speak a lot, do a lot of leadership development for a movement in our nation. And I will say yes to something in March. And then March rolls around. I'm like, how did this get on my calendar? How did 9 different speaking engagements get on my calendar?
Because you said yes.
Because I said yes and then said yes again, and I should have just said no. Here's my limitations. And I've learned over the course, Julie and I were talking about this. For those of you who don't know, my wife and I have been married 23 years this year, have a 15-year-old and 11-year-old. We said no to a lot of things. I'm getting better at saying no to things, even as I speak. And one of the things I share with our staff, and you'll remember this, sometimes your no is just not right now.
Yeah.
So I'll say you got to procrastinate on purpose, leadership principle. I know people hate to hear me. They say, hey, Carl, can you sit in on this meeting? And in fact, recently I was asked, can you sit in on this meeting? I'm like, well, that decision that had to be made for 2 years. Just give me the nuts and bolts, looking at a different facility for a wholeness and wellness center for our church and various things. I said, you just give me the nuts and bolts. I'll get involved and engage when I need to.
Yeah.
Because right now, if I put that, I gotta say, if I say yes to that, I'm saying no to something. Well, I'll say yes at the right time if it needs to. It may never need my attention. Or it might. So learn to say no.
That's so wise, and that's something. I'm a people pleaser at heart, so that's hard for me.
Yep.
Like I want to say yes, and then like you said, I'll fill my whole calendar up. It's like, where'd all my time go?
Yep.
It's doing stupid things. I've tried to be intentional in the last couple of years to say yes to what matters most in the moment, and I can be focused. I can be really good at a few things.
Yeah.
Or I can spread myself so thin that I'm just mediocre at a lot of things.
Yeah, I think that's so valuable. There was even times Jesus in his life, he would go and do miracles and heal crowds and preach to hundreds of thousands of people, and then he would withdraw. He would say no to the people. We need you to do this. We need you to. I mean, they're thinking about when they wanted him to always, we need more bread. We need more miracles. We need more of this. And he's like, I'm going about my Father's business. I'm spending time with my Father. There's just even a withdrawal to say no to certain seasons or certain things in his life.
The man that was possessed by 1,000 demons, and Jesus threw the demons out. Fun story. Throws them into a herd of pigs. They run off the cliff. Read it for yourself. And this guy's like, wow, can I go with you?
Right.
Jesus says no. It's like, can I be your partner? I want to be your Bonnie and Clyde. I want to go with you. Nope, I want you to stay here. And there's value in that.
Yeah, and so what are some things that we typically say yes to that we should say no to? We'll get into 2 more here in a minute, but I'll just some things like family, like extended family or friends. Hey, can y'all come over and do this? Oh, man, my week's full. Just say no. Reschedule it for a time that works for you. Well, they'll get offended. Well, maybe we should give a little more time. Maybe we should set more boundaries. I'm not saying that's the case all the time. I hope you have great relationships with your family, but if it's taxing you, put it in a season where you're at your best when you're there.
Yeah.
Saying no to, appointments, saying no to, one of the big things that we said no to was we said no to the public school system. We also said no to the private schools so we could say yes to homeschooling. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Or we said no to that, not necessarily so we could say yes to homeschool. We said yes to homeschooling so we could say yes to other things because we were choosing one or the other, and which one gave us our family back. That was a huge decision for us. Sports.
In a future episode, I'd love to unpack that decision.
Oh,
what
yeah.
That means.
I can't even express the value of that decision. And look, it's not for everybody, but I'm just like, my 15-year-old just finished his second college class this week.
15-year-old?
He's 15. He won't be 16 until April.
I'm 33, and I still need to finish my second college class.
There you go. So there's just ways to think counterculturally.
Yeah.
And like my wife and I were talking even in the car this week about the fact that like he could get any scholarship he wanted, but we don't need scholarships because that he didn't take an SAT, he didn't take an ACT. They accepted him into multiple colleges.
Wow.
Because and he's breezing through 97 and 96 on his first 2 college classes. One's college algebra at 15. So like,
my gosh,
there's
you
just
get tutor me.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. He's a very intelligent kid, but there's also some things that allowed us to pour into his life because we said no to some other things.
Yeah.
And the other one, he's 11. He may never go to college. I don't know. Whatever. But the reality is we said no to some things so we could say yes to our kids in a way that we could not have said yes to our kids if we had said yes to other things. Wow. That's, family, friends. Let's go to the second thing here that you can make the most of a new year, and it kind of leads from the first is learn to ball on a budget. And that means saying no to some things, right? Some Starbucks, some purchases, some things that you really enjoy, some vacations.
That's painful.
Yeah, saying no to some things so you can say yes to other things. Dave Ramsey says it this way: live like no one else today so one day you can live like no one else. Yep. Quit buying a whole bunch of crap today and one day you can buy a whole bunch of crap if you want. Not saying that's what you should do.
But you could.
Yeah, you could. Quit spending a whole bunch of money on other things so you can be generous today. We just came out of a financial generosity season here at Relevant Church, and I can't express to you, like I preach on generosity and gratitude, but like I just want people to experience what I've experienced. Like I preach on the gospel, the good news of Jesus' life, death, burial, and resurrection, for forgiveness of my sins, and the freedom that I've found in Christ, because I want people to hear that news, and I want people to live out that news. And not to the same degree of Christ's life, death, burial, and resurrection, but there's a joy that comes with generosity. And so many people are financially strapped because they're spending, they're extravagant spenders, so they can't be extravagant givers.
Yeah, and that's intuitive. I think anytime we experience something that we enjoy, we want others to experience it as well. You go to Disney World, have the time of your life. Right. I know a lot of people that love Disney World, and they're not quiet about it. They come back, they tell everyone, you've got to go to Disney World. You got to experience this. They got a new ride here. They got a new ride. You got to check it out. We want others to experience, and so generosity is the same way.
Absolutely, man. If you've ever been on Avatar,
I haven't.
Like you have to say, it's the most incredible thing. I mean,
I've heard good things about
it. I hate Disney. I hate Disney. I can't stand Disney.
We just lost half our listeners.
That's fine because it costs too much. Here's my rule about Disney: just ride down the interstate and throw out $10,000. And then watch it blow in the wind. I mean, that's what you can't ball on a budget at Disney. Number one. Yeah. So like, go experience it if it's your jam. But like, if you go, you got to ride Avatar. That's kind of the way to ride. Right. So because it's an experience like no other. And so I would say on that regard though, rather than we just came off Christmas season, and I said this in our last episode. Don't buy gifts for everybody. Stop trying to people please everybody and make memories with your kids. Right. Quit buying a bunch of crap and make memories. The greatest things my kid, like for example, at the time of the release of this episode, we will have just gotten back off a ski trip. We're getting ready to leave for a ski trip.
You ever skied before?
I have skied, but my oldest has not.
Oh and my gosh! He's dying. Please take videos. Please take some videos.
He's dying to go skiing. So we leave right after Christmas, and we will go and we will ski and come back, and then this episode drops right after that. And so coming after that, that week off of Christmas, like we're making a memory. But listen, like my kids are getting very little from their family, like my mom and dad, from their mom and dad. My mom and dad and her her mom, and they'll bless them and all that. But like, we don't spend a lot of money on our kids.
They're not going to remember the gifts they received. They'll remember the times you took
memories.
them.
And I mean, it was as simple as one year we were kind of really balling on a budget. And so we said, okay, we're going to go to eat and go to Topgolf for Christmas. And I mean, you get like a small gift each. And so just stop it.
Yeah.
So ball on a budget.
Yeah. If I can speak to that real quick, is I growing up, my parents, very little financial planning.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, they always said, give God your 10, put 10% in your savings, pay your bills, whatever, with your 80%, whatever. And I wasn't related. It wasn't disciplined. It wasn't instilled in me. If I got $20 for my birthday, I'm going to Walmart that night and I'm finding something for $19.99.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of how I've lived. I haven't had that self-discipline. That hasn't been instilled in me. So when I got married to Krista, who is super disciplined, that was like a rude awakening for me.
Yeah.
And because of that discipline, it has helped us be more, live in a way where we can be more generous. She likes to empty our checking account on Tuesdays. Wednesday's payday. She wants to empty our checking account on Tuesday nights, put everything into savings. The first time she did that, I'm like, what in the world are you doing? Like we need that.
Panic
and
attack.
She's like, we're building a savings account. I'm like, I don't like this.
What is
and
that?
she said,
What's a savings account?
I know. And she's like, you don't have to like this. This is what we're doing. I'm like, oh, all right. Well, let's do that.
Right.
And because we've built that savings account, I can be transparent and say we paid almost $7,000 of debt off our first year of marriage.
Yeah.
And we put up enough in savings that when she had to step out for maternity leave, we were comfortable. We were fine.
Yeah.
And so it's because we were disciplined. We lived like nobody else the front half.
Yep.
At the beginning, our first year of marriage, and then we could live. Well, I say that. I know Dave Ramsey meant that like when you're retired, but we were disciplined so we could have some more flexibility.
Well, yeah, but even the fact that you're paying off debt, you're living like 10% of people in America because you're paying off debt.
She's like, we're paying $175 a week on these cars until they're done. I'm like, that means we can't go out to eat. She's like, exactly.
I said that in a message in December. I said, are you telling me that I have to realign my entire life around Jesus? And the answer is 1,000% yes. If you're not a follower of Jesus, no, do what you want to do. This message is different. But when you put your hope and trust in the God who gave his son for you, and you're not a giver, you don't understand the grace of God. Right. And I say that, and it's hard as a pastor because you say that and people say, I'm just going to find me another church. Fine, but you got to know the Jesus that I know. Mm-hmm. Like when you understand the gratitude and generosity of God, you understand the grace of God, you understand everything comes from God. Yep. I'm going to tell you, this is you want to know, pave the way to the good life. Learn to be generous. Mm-hmm. What did Adam and Eve do in the garden? God gave them everything they wanted. They wanted the one thing they couldn't have. Yeah. That tree of the knowledge of good and evil. God gives you all this money and says, bring your tithe. And you go, but I want my tithe. Uh-huh. But you have the other 90. It's the same mentality. I don't see God as God of enough. And so part of balling on a budget is giving at least 10%, saving at least 10%, and living on the rest. And so I'm telling you, part of the good life, one of the biggest parts of the good life, I would say, is a generous life. You can't be generous if you spend more than you make. So say no to some things so you can say yes to some things. Say no to buying some things so you can say yes to some things in your finances. And here's the third one. We won't spend a lot of time on here, or maybe we will. In 2023, make a commitment. And I don't know what this looks like for every single listener. Minimize social media in your life.
It's hard. Because
there'll be a new app that comes out this year. There'll be a new trend that comes out this year. There'll be a new something that comes out this year. And I would say minimize it if you're the consumer of it. Minimize it if you're the producer of it. What I mean by that is, like, I understand we have content creators. I'm horrible at this. This is part of this podcast, was you guys pushing me to put things in ways that people could hear and see into our lives and kind of maybe build their life in a way that leads toward wholeness and healing and various things. I'm horrible at content creation because I find it very taxing. Yeah. I find it, especially creating graphics and videos and all, I find it very irritating, and it robs me. I've said no to that for so long, and I have an incredible relationship with my kids. No to that for so long, incredible relationship with my wife. No to those things because they rob me of other things, and plus I'm not very good at them. So, but I say that to say, if you're the content creator, create the content you need to create, but don't just do it to build a platform. Some people make money that way. That's not the audience I'm talking to. The other thing I would say is, if you're the consumer, which is the vast majority of people, you weren't wired to the reason you have so much stress in 2022, in 2021, in 2020 is not just COVID, not just you lost your job, not just elections, not just the racial tensions of the last several years. The reason you had so much stress is because you consumed things you were never meant to consume.
Right.
You were
at a rate you were never meant to.
Exactly. We laugh about the artificial intelligence even prior to this podcast of how you can type anything in and get a dissertation on it in a matter of seconds.
It's insane. I typed in, give me a sermon on Luke 5, and in 8 seconds it gave me a nice-sized devotional.
Yep. So in a matter of moments. And so that's the problem is we lean into the artificial stuff. And let's be honest, social media for the most part is artificial. It's not real. It's not the real you. It's the highlight reels. So, we'll take the best parts of this podcast and throw them out there. And people are like, that's good. Let me listen. And like, well, the rest of it was terrible, so whatever. So like, that's what people do with their lives. And so I would just say, keep track of your screen time. See how much time you're spending on your screen. Instead of, uninstall some apps on your phone. Get some books that you can read on your phone. If you find yourself addicted to your phone, then get a book and read it on your phone, like something that would add value to your life. And I think that's the case in all three of these things. Saying no more often, balling on a budget, and minimizing social media. Here's what I would say. When it comes to saying no more often, say no to things that don't add value to your life. Say yes to things that do. When it comes to balling on a budget, say no to things that don't add value to your finances and to your good life and to your joy and to your peace, and say yes to things that do. When it comes to social media, quit following crappy people and quit looking at stupid stuff and quit spending. If you want to look at social media 10 minutes a day and scroll, you can catch up on all social media. Don't go down wormholes. Say no to all the other crap.
Yeah.
If that's a source of news for you, then follow legitimate news sources.
Right.
Not he said, she said, whatever. But most of it's a drama. It's a drama realm. So so let's say no to things that don't add value, and then so you can say yes to things that do add value. So that's what I would say. 2023, add value to your life. If you're going to talk about even making a New Year's resolution, quit thinking about it as I got to do better at this, and start saying, how am I adding value to my health this year?
Sure.
I'm going to lose 12 pounds and I'm going to eat this. No. How am I going to add value to my health this year? Okay, I'm going to get sunlight 5 times a week outside for 30 minutes. Okay, that might be cutting the grass. That might be running. That might be playing, tennis or pickleball or golf. But that's adding value to your life. That's not putting this weird pressure on yourself. I'm not saying you shouldn't do some of those things. Think of it, though, as how am I adding value to my life and my family?
Well, that's good. That's good. I know social media is one for me personally is a little tough. My wife is probably listening to this right now like, that's you. You need to get away from social media a little bit, because I am an info junkie. I love people. I love to be connected. I love being nosy. I love seeing what people are up to. And that can be a dark side for me.
Yep.
Where I spend way too much time on social media, and that's something I have to work at and be intentional with. When I'm home, I've got to be intentional about putting my phone down, face down. So I'm not tempted to look at that or pick it up. I'll pick it up and not even thinking. I'll open Facebook or Instagram.
So this is interesting. Julie and I go to counseling monthly. In our counseling session, our last counseling session, I take my phone in there and I lay it face down, and I can feel it going off on the. I'm not picking that up in that counseling session, am I?
No.
Why? Because everybody's going, you idiot.
Yeah.
You're in here for marriage, strengthening.
That's
and
your
health
problem.
Why would I pick that up? So if I have the self-discipline not to do it then, why can't I lay it down at home? And so I do. I tend to at least see who sends me a message or see who does whatever, or, and respond. I'm just simply saying at the end of the day, we've got to be, I can tell you what social media does to me. It makes me feel less than. I'm just being candid. I can't produce that kind of content. Could I? Yeah. What would it do to me? I don't know. Yeah. So why would I keep adding that? Sometimes I'll be on social media like, crap, I suck. I'm just like, put the freaking phone down.
Social media for me is two things. It either makes me jealous, which I'm looking at everyone else, what they have and what I don't.
Sure.
Or I post something and it gets a ton of engagement, and now I'm like, look at me, and it builds pride.
Yep.
Jealousy or pride, and both of those are sins.
So part of what we're trying to do, even in my social media and our church social media, is add value to people's lives. So we're doing that as a result of what we say.
Absolutely.
Quit consuming a bunch of crap and a bunch of info, and let's add value. So if this has been helpful, again, let us know by liking and sharing. Send your comments in, send your thoughts in, and we'll see you next time on The Good Life. God bless you.